is the Rangers Journal Night.
Good evening and welcome to the Rangers Journal on a Wednesday night. With me today, I've got quite a good podcast panel, actually. Let's start with yourself, Ricky. How you doing, mate?
I'm fine, Dave. Good evening, Scotty. Hi, Ross Paul. Just looking forward, and it'd be quite interesting to see how this debate goes, because there's numerous people we could talk about in the next 40, 50 minutes. But yeah, looking forward to it. It's a good conversation looking at Rangers spine, past and present.
Yeah, I think so, mate. I think so. And Ross, how's yourself this evening, mate?
Aye, good, Dave, mate. Good to be on with Ricky and Scott. I've not been on with them yet. I know I'm still kind of new, and every time I come on, it's a new face. Yeah, bounce off, so I'm looking forward to it.
We've all been there, mate. All been there. And last but certainly not least, Scott, thanks for joining us tonight. How you doing?
I'm not too bad. I was a bit busy earlier on, but I managed to come on and Scotty messaged me, so I look forward to coming on here because it's slightly different debate and what I do my own stuff. But no, it's good. It's good to talk with you guys because you give up different opinions and the usual folk I talk to. And I'm not going to say you're more sensible, but it's just different. Do you know what I mean? But no, it's good. It's good to see Ricky. Good to meet Ross, and obviously I've been on with you before, Dave. So Ricky is all right enough. So it's good to be back on the channel.
That's it, mate. And do you want to knock out a shameless plug while you're here?
Oh, might as well, yeah. Just if anybody's watching, they can come on to my own podcast, myself, one of a few other boys. It's called Not Another Rangers Podcast. It's just guys like yourselves talking about Rangers and good or bad, or different opinions, but it's just guys talking about Rangers like we're in a pub or just good mates talking about football. That's all it is. Talking about a team I love, even at the moment they're up and down more than they're up.
Nice one. Cheers. So, as the title suggests, folks, we're here to talk about the spine of the team tonight. I can officially say it is a TAV-free zone. We will not be talking about TAV tonight, right? All of you guys clear? So let's just dive straight into it then. I want to start talking about the defence, and here's one I made earlier, as they say. So this is some FootMob data on Robin Propper and John Souttar, who I think it's fair to say are very, very much our first choice starting centre backs. The stats, I'm not going to lie, this surprised me a little bit when I pulled them. Given the amount of clean sheets that we've had, especially in the league, I potentially would have expected these to be higher. But then when I kind of thought about it a bit, I suppose in a lot of these games, we're not defending as much. So there's potentially no as much an onus on the defenders to kind of bump up these stats, so to speak. Billy, I just want to start with you, mate. So one of the things that I notice about these is there's some very clear kind of areas where each one is, I would say, better in. So you've got the tackles for Propper. He's quite far and away in that area. And then you've got the maybe more kind of blood and guts, body on the line type defending from Souttar. Is that potentially the kind of mix that you would look for in a centre-back pairing, do you think?
Is that to me, Dave?
It's to you, mate.
Yeah, I mean, they are a new partner. I think Big Souttar had a wee bit of a problem last year settling down due to injuries, not getting a game when he was fit, not really getting a regular run in the team. He's certainly getting that now, and he's staying free, and he's producing, I think, the best form that he's produced, not only a Rangers shirt, but in his career, and we're now seeing the benefit of that. Yes, he's susceptible to the odd mistake, but who isn't? And I believe that him and Propper are starting to perform quite a decent partnership together. Is it perfect? No. There's room for improvement, but the signs are there that the two of them have got an understanding. They've certainly got the pace. So yeah, I mean, it's early days for the pair of them, and I'm sure the lads would agree. But the signs for me are looking quite good. They got the height. Do they cut out enough sort of crosses going in. Yeah, they probably do, but on our offensive, I do believe we should be getting more goals from corners. I mean, you'll know the stats, I'm not really too sure, but I don't. When was the last time we scored direct from a corner? It seems to be, you know.
Do you mean which year, Ricky?
No, so yeah, so there's work to be done, but it's promising, Dave. Definitely promising, I think.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. And Ross, just coming to yourself, you know, dual-wise, again, some of this stuff, the coloured bars, you know, they tell a story to an extent, but again, it depends kind of how much defending you're asked to do. Obviously, you know, St Mirren defender is going to get significantly more opportunities to win these duels. But just looking at the duels and kind of comparing that to the eye test, where do you think the centre backs are domestically in the league? I mean, take Leon scudding out of this one, I think. Are you quite happy with how they've performed? And does this maybe reflect what you would have thought you'd see, or are you quite surprised seeing a bit lower?
No, I think that, like Ricky said, I think we're starting to see the embryonic development of a good partnership. Excuse me. I think when John Souttar first arrived with injury, and I think he wasn't played in his favourite side. I think because of the constant, obviously Golson played there all the time, and Souttar was kind of played in his weak side. And I think we were seeing issues where he wasn't comfortable playing on that side. I think playing on the right hand side on his stronger foot and playing alongside a guy like Proper, who is very comfortable playing on the left, he can play with both feet. I think we're starting to see the best out of the both of them. You can see there on the stats that I think that Proper's probably more of a ball playing defender, as much as Souttar can do it. I think Souttar's great at the siege defending. He has a good Scottish centre half. That's why you see he's kind of, you know, his blocks. You did say earlier on, kind of throwing his cell at the ball. He's the guy you want because he gets it high. You can get it wide. And I think, like I say, it's something that's taken a little bit of time. I think when Proper came in, we were maybe not 100% sure, but I think now we're starting to see them click, them understand each other better. And, you know, it's probably what you could have wanted at this point in the season.
Yeah, and Scott, just coming to yourself, mate, I think one of the things that was highlighted when we signed Proper was his ability to kind of step forward a wee bit, pick a pass. Is that something that you think you've seen enough of from him, or would you like to see a bit more of that?
I like to see a bit more, obviously. I mean, he likes to intercept the ball, doesn't he, before it comes into the strike, and he's good on it. He's good with the ball at his feet. He gets forward. He can pick a pass. Defensively, he has been caught wanting at times. He's obviously not the quickest, and I think the way we play, they are quite open because the way we play. You've seen him. I know you don't want to pick on the Leon game, but the Leon game, he was constantly going over to Souttar's side. And even big gaps on the left hand side when Jeff was further up the park. So we've seen the gaps here. I think his awareness has to improve. His physicality as well. I think it has to improve. His game for the Dutch League might not be as physical as the SPL, so maybe that will come. But what I've seen I've liked, I think the two of them together have a good partnership already, as in league wise. I'm not going to sit here and say it's the best I've ever seen it. Obviously it's not, and I think it could improve, but I like where they're going. I think the fullbacks have to do more. And I think lacking, I was going to talk about lacking the six, doesn't help them either. But what we've seen is, okay, listen, Proper's come in. I know he's there to win, whatever. He didn't sign him for a lot of money. He came in as an experienced defender because Golson's left. I think that's what we were lacking. And as Ricky alluded to, we probably come on. We've not got a lot of money to spend, so we have to be clever the way we do it. But I do think the two of them have shown something already. With the clean sheets we have, will it be enough? Time will tell, but I like them so far. But I do think maybe we need help. I do think the full-backs do let them down because they're covering too much space at times, and I feel Proper's going over too much to his Souttar side and leaving gaps.
Yeah, and Ricky, we've kind of touched on it already a wee bit. We mentioned, you know, that he has been injury-free this season, but obviously, you know, a league season isn't just about the two starting centre backs, and we do know that Souttar has that injury history. Do you think that there's enough cover kind of behind these two at the minute?
Well, you've undoubtedly got Balogun, who is equally probably just as good as either of them who we're just discussing now, who's not getting a game at the moment because the two boys have got the shirts, and rightly so. You have got Casa and Sterling who can also fit in there should there be an injury. So whereas a couple of years ago we fell short, we Sands and
Robbie King.
Who was the other big? And he's actually still at Rangers, and a young lad. The two
King.
Yeah, so they two were in there at centre half. So that's when we were absolutely decimated as far as the centre halves are concerned. I don't personally have an issue with the depth of those two positions, which are critical to any team. But when you start getting injuries, then that's when you start thinking who can go in. But I think we've got enough cover with the two lads I've already just mentioned. So that's like potentially 5 centre halves here who've all got experience, you know. I noticed one of the comments one of the lads had mentioned that Proper was a strange signing. I understand where he's coming from, but it was just a like for Golson. They needed some experience in them. We lost Golson, so we brought in a couple of youngsters, and it hasn't worked yet. So they're down in the B team. So I don't have an issue with Proper. The money we got for Golson, we spent on him. They came second, I think it was, or certainly in the top 3 in the Dutch league. He was their skipper, so he's got experience. So I thought it was a decent enough signing. I know he scored an own goal in his first game. You know, the ball rattled off him, but I think he's actually had a decent start to his career, and long may it continue. And he'll get better as the season goes on. But I think we needed a Golson replacement, and that's who we got. So yeah, there is lots and lots of scope for improvement, as Scott said, but we're getting there, I think, and the two of them are producing clean sheets, and that's all we can ask.
Yeah, I mean, long may it continue, for as long as they are keeping clean sheets, that's an incredibly solid foundation to build on. It's just, obviously, they have to keep the clean sheets. Ross, I just want to pick up on something Ricky mentioned there. So he's talking about Casemiro and Sterling being able to jump in. Do you think that's right, or do you think maybe that's a case of this kind of putting the old square pegs round holes again?
I do to an extent. I understand that having the versatility there has been good, but I've said in a previous pod that I feel bad that Sterling's kind of become a victim of his own versatility, and not to say that he'd be bad there, but I think again it's trying to put guys into positions that they're not 100% comfortable with. I believe that Casemiro has played as a centre half for Feyenoord, so I'd be more comfortable with him being in there. But we've obviously seen the times that he's come off the bench. He's played at kind of right back, kind of right centre back as in a 3. And he's looked really good. So I'd be more comfortable with him being there as opposed to Sterling. I think Sterling is more adept at being slightly forward, winning the ball, breaking things down and moving it on. But at the same time, again, you want, if the two guys that are there just now are playing well, you don't want to start to have to think about these replacements. Yeah, agreed. And just lastly on the defenders here, Scott. Thomas, looking forward to Nsiala. I'm just wondering what your kind of thoughts are on him. Are you excited to see him? Do you think he'll break into the first team this season, or is he a longer term kind of project?
What I've heard, he's more longer term. I think he's doing okay with the B team and training with younger lads, but I've heard he's just up to level with them. He's not any further. He's still struggling. I'm not saying struggling, but he's still settling basically. Coming for a Italian academy setup's totally different than playing in Scotland. So he's, by all accounts, he's a really good footballer, but it's just the physical side of the game a wee bit more. He needs to get used to more. And I think he will become a really good signing for us, but I don't see him playing a lot this season. I think Ross and Ricky both nailed it by saying it, because we've got Casemiro, I'll just say that because that's what I've been saying, and Sterling. I think utility of both of them. They can play across the back. You get Balak and also Leon King there with if you actually go that short. But I think once Nassala, I think he will become a decent signing for us in the long term. But Sterling, I will say, the boy was right. The manager has seemed to put a kind of on target on his back, as in nobody knows his best position anymore. I was calling out not long ago saying he should play in the middle of the park, but when you put a few games there, defensively he's okay when we're kind of defending, but we're going forward, it seems kind of lost at times. He plays out wide, he does okay, but you want more. And he has played full back and he has played right side centre back. So I feel probably for Sterling to get his best numbers for us is at right back or right side centre back. I'd be going to a 3 or even playing a 4. But the manager does say on Sterling he needs to play 10 consecutive games in a row before he can justify playing them. So I don't see that happening for a while because he's always in and out of side due to managers just playing him whenever we're short.
Yeah, and I think that's back to what Ross said, isn't it? He's almost a victim of his own versatility at this point. Okay, so let's move forward the line then, and we'll talk about the midfield for a bit. So, again, a bit like centre-back, I think there's a very clear first choice pairing for that role, and that would be obviously Connor Barron and Mo Diamande. I think the radars kind of tell a story here, and we did chat about this a bit on the kind of pre-going live. There seems to be the way that we're set up. So, I mean, as I've said, and I'll keep beating this drum, I do think we asked them to do a hell of a lot for a pair. I think if that was a 3, okay. But as a 2, it's a lot of work. Generally, the way it kind of splits is Barron does the more defensive side, sits back a bit. Diamande's more attacking impetus. I guess, firstly, Ricky, is there anything about this that surprises you, these graphs, seeing the kind of breakdown on here as opposed to knowing how they play when we watch them?
Yes, I suppose it does slightly. Because for me, I think they play pretty much side by side. You're absolutely right that Barron does sort of sit a little bit deeper, sometimes splitting the 2 centre halves, picking the ball up, offering these services to then that kind of Lundstrom role. Diamande, as you can see, he's sort of trying to link the play, but unfortunately we just don't have a decent number 10 to sort of link that play with that formation that's set up at the moment, which I just find it frustrating at times that sometimes when you look at the stills of games, we just seem to be all over the place, and because of that, it's like watching sometimes the Beale team all over again. People just don't really know where they are, where the setup is, where they're meant to be. I'm sure and I'm hoping that they'll get it together. But when you're talking about the spines of the team, when you get back to the sort of the Barry Ferguson, the Ian Ferguson, the Ian Ferguson dynamic, running forward, getting beyond, scoring goals, Scotty Arfield, that type player. We just don't have that player at the moment, and it's something that we're screaming out for. Stephen Davis, again, more recently, a fantastic player for us. He's in that kind of, he's split between the sort of 6 and 8. Davis, wasn't he? Most of the time, probably the 6 towards the latter of his career. But we are, as much as I like these 2 lads, they're not the. We could go on and on about players past and present, but they've got a lot to do to get anywhere near the kind of previous sort of a spine that we had in teams gone by.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. To be honest, Ricky, they're the best of what we have at the minute, but yeah, I don't think anyone realistically is going to be comparing Connor Barron to Barry Ferguson at this stage of his career, for sure. Ross, one of the things Ricky mentioned there was Stephen Davis, who I would say is, our last true deep-lying playmaker. We're all fully aware he kind of pulled the strings from his midfield role. Do you think under the current setup, the way that the setup itself and the style that Clement wants to play, do you think we need a 6? And do you think that's maybe something we should have gone out and signed in the window?
100%. 100%. I totally agree with Ricky. I think of all the players that we've lost or sold in the last few seasons, Stephen Davis was the one that we needed to replace more than anything. He made us tick right for the get-go. As soon as he came back, I know he took a bit of time and he was playing a different position to what we thought he was the first time, but he was a guy that took the ball and he decided how fast we played. And I don't think that we've ever really replaced him. I know we were talking about guys in the summer. Could Kenny McLean be that? We don't know. But I think that to have that structured midfield, you need guys in there that can play. You need a solid midfield. We're talking about the spine of the team. I think a solid midfield is probably the most important part of it. And for too long, I think we've seen midfields just get walked through. I think we're far, far too easy to play through. Not to say that Barron and Diamande are bad players. I think they're really, really good players and they're really good at what they do. But when you're playing against teams that now are playing, most teams tend to play a kind of 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. There's guys in there that are able to just pass through us really quickly. We don't have enough bodies in there that track back. And I think that's a position that we really, really need to fill. I don't think it works under Clement, the formation that we play.
Yeah, that's fair, and it actually sets up really nicely for Scott's question now. Scott, I guess this is a bit of a two-parter, actually. So, firstly, in your view, do you think the system's working, or should we look to change it? And I guess the second part to it is, regardless of your answer, do you think Clement will change it?
I'll answer the second one first, and then the answer is no. I don't think he will. I think he's stubborn in what he wants to do. I do think I prefer 3 in the middle. I prefer Raskin in there with Diamande and Barron. I wouldn't play a 10, but we have to play a 10 because the centre forward's not good enough holding the ball up. But I think Conor Barron highlighted the last few games. He was rested and he was brought on at half time. Don't know why he was rested, because if he was rested for playing too much games, don't bring somebody on at half time, he's probably dropped. But I feel he's defaulted into the 6th position, and that's not his position. It's unfair on a young boy, because he's come in and started really well, but now there's a lot of pressure on him when we concede goals, because he's the one that's chasing back, trying to help out centre backs and the full backs, and as Diamande sometimes caught up field. So I feel we need 3 in there, but he's not going to play 3 in there because he likes to play with a 10. So we should have signed an experienced 6, but for some reason we never. I know he went for that boy that went back to Ajax, David Klassen, I think it was. Supposed to be went for him, and he went back to Ajax. They want to come, but we need somebody in there. We need somebody just a bit more experience, because on transition, we lose a ball. Teams go through is far too easy. We see it all the time, and you can probably get away with this formation at Ibrox at times because teams like to sit deep. But when you're away from home or when you're playing against somebody better than us, you can't do that formation. We concede far too many goals with it. So I don't think he'll change it. I think he'll stick with it because he likes this. But I feel it's going to cost us a lot of problems this season, especially conceding, because Barron and Diamande, because this seems to be the 2 he goes with, they're going to be hung out to the right time just because of the lack of numbers.
Yeah, and Ricky, one of the things that we saw, Scott mentioned it there, obviously Conor Barron came on at half-time in the most recent game. It was quite noticeable for me that actually this time Barron didn't play that deeper line 6. That kind of seemed to stay with Raskin, whilst Barron played slightly further forward. Did you kind of think that he looked better there? Would you prefer him back in that deeper line position, push Raskin forward?
We are X amount of games into the season now, Dave, and he still doesn't know the best formation to play those lads, because it's quite clear. They talk about this word rotation. Players years ago used to play all season, providing they were not injured and never need replaced. I know the game's changed and all the rest of it, but I rate Barron, and I've said it on this pod before. He will be our next skipper, and if that guy that guy can progress the way he's come in to our club and shown to the fans that he can handle the heat. You know, he's not scared to tell players off. He's a young lad and he's learning his trade. And if he keeps progressing where he is, then we've got a very, very good player in our hands. And I'm not saying he is going to end up being like Barry Ferguson, but he's in that mould, you know, for me anyway. And I just think we need to support the boy, let him play. He made a huge mistake in the European game against Lyon, and it cost the lad. But he'll learn from it. He just played a blind pass and he get caught out. But he's not scared to play those passes, and that's what I like about the lad. I'm not convinced his partner, you know, he knows who his best partner is, whether that is Scott, whether that is Raskin. I happen to like Raskin. I think he's a great little player. We just haven't seen the best of him either because of injuries. He got another injury pre-season, didn't he? Diomande offered something different. I like his forward thinking. He's quick. He's always looking to find a forward pass. Diomande doesn't always work, and sometimes he gets caught. And again, I'll back Scotty up there. We're kind of wide open when our midfielders or even Dessers loses that ball. We just seem to be wide open down the middle of the park. Whether it's our setup because the wing backs are so far up the pitch, the centre halves are then spread all over the place. We're just so easy to play through. And that needs to be sorted. The formation is half the problem for me, and it's frustrating. But I don't get Clement's wages. You know, he's one that makes the decisions. But to us punters, you can see that there's so many gaps because of the formation. But Barron and Diomande, or whether it's Raskin, we get players there that I think we can utilise, and until we can get a decent sort of, or whether they're going to bring another experienced guy in January, I'm not too sure. But I know they were kind of keen to bring in the boy from Seville, the Italian lad who was out. He's not out of contract, but he was told he wasn't going to play again. And there was a lot of sort of talk about him coming in, whether he turned it down or we can't afford these wages, whatever. I think that was the kind of player that we needed to start the season off, and it never happened. And maybe it's going to bite our backsides, I'm not sure. But that's not knocking Diomande, Raskin or a young Barron, because I like the three of them. Whether they're good enough remains to be seen.
Yeah, and just on our highly paid manager that you've just flagged up there, Ricky, just worth pointing out, there is a series actually on the Rangers Journal YouTube. So it's all about Clement, and we've kind of tracked him through the various teams that he's managed, spoken to their fans, and basically it starts to give you a bit of an insight into the man himself. Episode 1 is out at the minute, so that's his time at Genk. After that, we have Monaco, and then Bruges as well, and then it'll be finalised with a summary of his time at Rangers. So, just on that, Ross, Nico Raskin, Ricky touched on it. You know, obviously, pre-season interrupted by injury. Not the first time. Has had a bit of a plagued history with it, as many players do. What do you think the season holds for Nico Raskin? Can he dislodge either of these guys? Do you think he's just kind of relegated to a backup now? What do you think that looks like?
I'll be honest, at the start of the season, or when he kind of started to come back from his injury, I thought he wasn't really in Clement's plans, but he has played in a few games recently, and I don't know if that's through necessity and wanting to not overplay Barron and Diomande. I think when we signed Raskin, there was a lot of hype around about him, but he's been here now for nearly 2 seasons, and I don't think we've seen nearly enough to merit the hype that he's had. I don't think he's a bad player. I still don't think that we've managed to find the best position for him. He's been played as a 6, he's been played as an 8. I think at one point Beale played this weird diamond where he played on the left side of a diamond, and it's just, and how can you expect guys to play in positions they can't play? If you're going to play guys, and that's one of the things that Ricky was we're talking about the formation. Pick a formation that gets the best out of the guys you've got. Don't fit guys into a formation they can't play. It's unfair on them, I think. And I think with Raskin, he's been kind of a victim of that I don't think, the same with Sterling, I don't think we've 100% found a position that gets the best out of the attributes that he has.
Yeah, slight snafu with the scheduling order, as Scotty's just reminded me. So Bruges is out next. So Genk's already out. Bruges next, then Monaco, then Rangers. Good job he's lurking in the chat to keep me right, yeah? So Scott, just finally on the midfield then, do you think that'll be a priority position come the winter window? Do you think that'll be where we go and look to sign someone? Or do you think there's maybe somewhere more needing and that'll just be kind of left till next summer?
January's one of the best months to sign people. Dave always say you're getting folks cast off, so you're getting players who are stuck in between clubs and maybe just looking for somebody to go for 6 months. So it's not the greatest month, but I feel it as a priority position for us. I think we need a midfielder better than all what we have at the moment. I think we need somebody a bit more experienced. Somebody, I'm not saying dead old because by all accounts, I'm not saying this is the gospel, but what I've heard is we're looking at 25 under. I'm not looking at older guys anymore, signing wise, just because of the blood trading model. So we're looking for, I think we need to look for somebody, one who can fit into where we want to play, if that's where he wants to play, and two, somebody a bit better, a bit different than what we've got. We lack height in the team and we lack some pace in the side, so I think we need to cover him as well. But it's difficult in January, and I think it's a priority position, but it's just one of them priority positions. I think there's another couple, but I do think we lack a midfielder. I think Raskin and Barron are very similar. Barron seems to be jersey at the moment. Diamante, he flatters to receive at times, but we can see all what he's got. But I think he's doing too much because there's only two in there. I think he's trying to get forward and trying to get back, and he's struggling at times, and that's why he's put in so many minutes and put in so much effort. He'll come on this, he looks shattered, and he's another one that come off after 45. So I think we need somebody else in there, a bit more experienced, but it's all who we can bring in, and it's all down to the money, isn't it?
That's it. And just real quick, since we did all quickly rattle off an opinion on this pre-going live, what's everyone's thoughts on Lennon Miller? So I'll go first. I think that ship sailed. I think now he's potentially out of our reach. I would caveat that I don't think he'd have come before. I think playing time would have been a prime consideration. Let's face it, he wouldn't be where he was if he hadn't had that platform at Motherwell he has. And quite frankly, I don't think we would have given him that. Ricky, just real quick, what's your thoughts?
Dave, you're absolutely bang on. We've missed the boat on that lad. I have got a cousin who is very, very afraid with Motherwell, a fella called Matt Johnson, who MD for Motherwell. Know him, he's Mr. Motherwell. He's wrote the fanzine for many years now. And I was up at Fir Park a few weeks ago, a triple sort of a celebratory party. And I was assured by my cousin that Lennon Miller, who Matthew knows and he knows his dad, will never be signing for Rangers. And that goes for Celtic as well. His dad, he won't allow it. And Matthew, he's in the know. So it's that ship has sailed in two fronts. We couldn't afford him, and then his dad wouldn't allow him to come to Rangers anyway.
Well,
so there you go. You got it from the horse's mouth.
That's it. Ross, yourself?
I mean, you could probably put a big money if you're a gambling man on Lennon Miller being the next top Scottish export to Italy. He's got the ability to do that. We've looked at Hickey, Ferguson, Doig, Gilmer, McTominay, all top players that are playing in Italy. He could be the next one. He's got the ability. I don't think we can remotely afford him now. No chance. Would be daft not to, but he'd probably look at us and see, well, you signed the guy that played alongside him, Bailey Rice. They probably played together at youth level, and seen that he's not been seen. So why would you go and do the same thing when you've got potentially big clubs in England or on the continent looking at you? You'd be daft. You'd be daft to even entertain us, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And Scott, anything different from yourself, mate?
Not really, just to say he's a very good football player for a young guy. He's going to get better. And like Ross just alluded to there, he has been linked with clubs in Italy. I know Atlanta was looking at him, so I think that's his best move. I think if a young lad going and play in Serie A, I think that's the way to go. He'll learn so much. He'll make a bit more money, but that's not the main object there. I think he'll go there, learn, have a better life and then maybe come back to English Premiership or down the line for some big money. But I think the seeing like a Scottish players playing over there, it's somewhere you can go and play good football and mature. So I think they'll end up in Italian football at some point.
Makes sense, wouldn't it? And as we were saying before, there's that kind of path now, I think, to there that maybe didn't exist pre kind of Ferguson heading over there. Okay, so let's just look at the number 10 role now. Now, let's start with the caveat. I know we've all pretty much said we would actually prefer to drop it and just have a flat 3 in the midfield, but as Scott has said, Clement is stubborn. I strongly suspect that we are going to continue to play with a 10. The problem we've got with this position for me is basically it's Tom Lawrence at the minute. I know we've signed Bayrami. Obviously, his favoured position is a 10, but as often happens at Rangers, circumstances have said otherwise. He's ended up playing on the left, and we've carried on with Tom Lawrence. So just flash up this first. As you can see, quite an empty slide because there's nobody else. Ricky, just come into yourself, mate. Again, similar question to the one that I asked before. Does that radar surprise you, given that, start of the season, a lot of fans were pretty much out for his blood, shall we say?
Yeah, I suppose the stats are encouraging. Tom Lawrence, prior to his injury, was a good football player, talented. He doesn't mind the ball at his feet in tight positions. A number 10 needs to sort of be able to sort of take that ball and turn. He plays with his head up, and as we've seen earlier in the season, he has got a little bit of a turn of pace. So he's got all the attributes to be a number 10. And he's holding that jersey now because he's now got competition, and we're now starting to see the Tom Lawrence that we saw and we all admired prior to him getting that serious injury. So long may that continue. Bayrami was brought in as a number 10 because he wasn't getting anything from Lawrence, really, was he? But as you've already said, Dave, he is now getting pushed out to left because Cortés is injured and we're struggling down both the flanks at the moment for any sort of real depth. Although we have got youngsters, Lovelace, for example. I just don't understand what these guys have got to do to get games, because him in particular, Bailey Rice, going back to the midfield again. If we don't start playing these boys, then they'll be off, and again we're going to miss the boat with these boys. But I've been harping on, for a while about Hadji. Thankfully, that kind of contract situation has been resolved. The boy made a good impression when he came on the other day there before he gets sent off. But you could tell that the lad's got 2 feet. He plays with his head up, and again, that can only bode well for us when it comes to competition for both Lawrence and Bayrami, that we get Hadji back and in that squad. And if we are going to continue with the number 10, to have 3 lads that can play that position, then again, great, But I'm just not convinced that the number 10 works. I know we're going to come on with Dessers because he's awful. He's awful. So, well, be honest, he's not good enough.
It's 10 minutes, then you can tell us he's awful, Ricky, all right? Just let's cover the 10 first.
Yeah, that's Lawrence is doing a good job in there at the moment, although he did pick up an injury in Europe there. I don't know whether he's fully back yet, but having Hadji back in the team and Bayrami, so there's three decent players all vying for the one position, and that's going to bode well for Rangers.
I think it will. It probably does pose one question for Ross. And I think certainly, so you could level this at Lawrence. You could absolutely level it at Hadji. Bayrami, jury's still out. But does the lack of kind of mobility and pace that these guys have, does that concern you?
It does. I think Lawrence especially because we see him more because he's got the jersey. I think Lawrence you don't get enough out of him over the 90 minutes. You might get a good 10, 15, maybe 20-minute spell out of him, and then if he does something in that moment of time, you get the goal. You get the goal against Hibs. We get the goal at Tannadice. We even get the goal against Leon. We don't want to talk about the game, but he's contributing in those moments. And then for the rest of the game, I don't think you get enough out of him. I think that was always maybe something that was labelled at Hagi as well, is that you did get moments. They're moments players, but you don't get enough over the 90 minutes. Especially we've been talking about midfields that are getting overrun. I think you need a guy in there that works harder for the team in all aspects of the game, not just taking the ball at the edge of the box and creating. I think we get that with Bayrami. I think Bayrami's an incredibly hard-working player. We've seen that when he's been playing on the left. He's built up a really good relationship already with Jeffy. It's just showing that he's an intelligent footballer, but he also works hard. He does track back. He's not always perfect, but that's these things will come. I think he should be the guy in there. And excuse me, I think that that's what we need in a midfield. We need a 10 that can contribute creatively, but works hard as well.
Yeah, agreed. Scott, I can't believe you didn't get the dog on the pod, mate. What's that all about? Jeez, oh.
There's actually a two-line here, but it's Walter that's snoring.
Okay.
He's a bulldog, so he always snores.
Aye. So, Scott, obviously we've kind of highlighted the lack of pace, potentially, I don't want to say work rate, but almost that does kind of fall into it. Do you think by default Bayrami moves in there when Cortez is back fit, or I've seen a couple of comments potentially Bayrami's looked better on the left than when they've seen him in the 10. I've also kind of seen the goal threat from Lawrence is improving and he's on a good run of form just now. Would you kind of just slide him in, or do you think he needs to earn that 10 spot?
I think he plays on the left until we get somebody else that can play there. Cortez, for me, I think that's one of these contracts we should try and get out of. I wouldn't be signing him. Matondo for after the season should be away to Norwich instead of turning it down. But I think Bayrami's done well out in the left-hand side. I think that's where he plays for his national side, so he's comfortable playing there as well. And you've seen he's built up a good relationship with Hefty. Lawrence, I was quite critical of at the start of the season, but Tom's a very good footballer. When he came through at Man United, he played about the English divisions, and he came up here and you can see he's a good player. It's just sometimes his legs aren't what they used to be. But you don't always have to, being playing the 10 role, pace doesn't matter a lot. It's your brain, it's how you can see the game and pass and move. You don't have to be quick, as long as you can pick a pass and go to end the chances, and that's what Tom's been doing a lot. So yeah, people see he's a moments player, but I think he's been actually better than that. I think he's been involved in quite a lot of good stuff they've done. Does he play the full season? I don't know. We had been back and Bayrami can play there, so it's interesting. We get 3 good options for the 10, but the left and right hand side, I think they're struggling at times.
That's it, mate. That's it. And Ricky, just one last one on the 10 before we shuffle along. Do you think Lawrence, and potentially after seeing that he is quite rusty, Hagi, do you think these guys can be trusted in the bigger games?
Yeah. Well, why not? Lawrence has got experience. I think Hagi's got experience, albeit he's a relatively young man, 25, 26, something like that. And no doubt that Bayrami has got the experience. He's an internationalist. They played particularly well in the Euros here. So, yeah, I don't have an issue with that. One of the things we could look forward to with Cortez, and I take Scott's sort of a view on Cortez because, he's a £4 million player that we can't actually use and we're still going to pay for him. We're obliged to pay for him. But we've got Ridvan still got to come back in, which would allow us to move Jeffy, forward as a winger. Because when he does get forward, he does look as if he's a threat. So that would allow the 3 guys we just mentioned to sort of fight it out for that number 10 role. Bayrami is clearly probably the best option, but I've got a lot of time for Hagi. I just for somebody who's in that role to have 2 feet and play with his head up. I think it's very important if you're going to stick with that number 10 role that somebody can link the play. And Hagi, Lawrence and Bayrami, no doubt for me, can do that. We just need to get the balance right in the team, and people are just getting played out of position a little bit too often for me for people to settle down and start doing a little bit of continuity going with good sort of a 6, 7, 8 out of 10 weekly, because when you keep on Sterling, prime example, what's that boy got to do to hold down a position and improve and learn and show us just what a good player he is? It's just it's a shame for that lad at the moment, but I dare say he will get a position shortly. He's signed a new contract, so that can only bode well for us going forward.
I think so, mate. I think so. And I think actually Paul's kind of nailed it here. So we have options. Clement just needs to pick the right game for the right players, basically. I think that's it for me. Each of them offers you something slightly different. So I think there is scope to use them all. I think Hagi, I reckon it basically needs time. I'd be cautious putting too much on him too quickly, because he hasn't played this season until today, other than at youth level. So I think that's it for me. But yeah, I would say each of them offers something. So, Ricky, the moment you've been waiting for a bit, it's Ross first, I'm afraid. Let's talk about the striker. And I think if anything ever sums up Dessers, it's probably this next slide. So let me just pop this one up. Okay, so first you've got his radar on the right. Absolutely top of the class, 3 quadrants. The others pretty much nothing. And then if you look at the match ratings, and annoyingly this kind of goes from bottom to top, you can see there's actually a trend. Dessers has been getting worse as the season's gone on, not better, like say Lawrence. Ross, I guess firstly, just kind of guess your overall thoughts on the enigma that is Cyril Dessers.
You said let's talk about the striker. He's been the striker for far too long, and I think that's what's hindered him. And it's been a bit of a shame, because he's had to carry the can and do the job of 2, maybe 3 centre forwards over the last year and a bit, and it's been unfair on him. But at the same time, he still came back with a very respectable goal tally this season. He started very well. I think he get, I don't know, was it 7 in his first 9 games or something? I think it was something along the lines. Scored an important goal against Dynamo, although it didn't matter in the end. But at the time, it was a goal we needed. He scored against he got a couple against Ross County. He scored against St Johnstone in the Cup, the kind of controversial goal. So he has been contributing. But I think we're at this stage again where he goes through peaks and troughs in a season, and he's in a trough where he's becoming a bit more of a hindrance to the team, and we've not got someone at the level we need to be able to replace him. I know we've all got big hopes on Hamza Egeman, but he's still too raw. You can't be expecting him to turn up and score 15, 20 goals a season. It's no fair on him.
No, I'd agree with that, mate. And interestingly, my pre-pod notes, I said he was talking about Dessers. I said he's either Sibo or Primar 9, and there's pretty much nothing in the middle. Scott, so I've seen a criticism levelled against Dessers that he can't really be trusted in the bigger games. Do you think that's fair?
Probably, because it's kind of backed up the facts, isn't it? He's not really done a lot in the medium. The most, I know he has a goal scoring record. He can look at and say, I've scored 20 odd goals last season, scored goals this season. But when we need him in the big games, he fails to take the chances. We may only get a couple in bigger matches, important games, and he fails to put them away. But the scoring part of his game isn't a thing that annoys me. It's the 2 things that annoy me with Dessers is, for a guy who's quite strong, physical, he's got a good physique, he goes down far too easy.
Right.
And he moans about everything, and he can't hold the ball up, no matter how much he tries. And I think that's a big issue with we play. I think maybe if you play someone next to him, make it more out of him. Listen, he will probably score 20 goals again this season. But is it going to be enough for us to get where we want to be? Probably not. And it is unfair in a point to criticise him all the time, but because he's the only striker, he's going to get it. That's just the way football is, and he's at an age where he's not going to improve a lot because what he's learned, he's always going to do. He's going to do the things he's good at, and he's going to be bad at the things he can't do. So, but for a boy that size, he just struggles to hold the ball up. But what I know even more is the constant moaning and groaning and going down. And at times that's going to go against him. Maybe it does. Like on Sunday, his jersey was getting pulled right off his back, and it should have went to VAR, and it was a penalty. But you don't know for us thinking, that's him just going down far too easy more again. I'm not saying that's the truth, but that's the way referees think as well, you know what I mean? So I think it has to be more physical. He has to stay on his feet longer. It has to be. I know everybody always goes back to Morelos. I mean, he's probably a better finisher Morelos was at times, but Morelos could, at his best, people are bouncing off him. But he wasn't the best striker either, Morelos. He went through the same. He went through peaks and he was poor at times as well. But I just feel we have to do more, especially when we're in a game where it's 50-50, we're struggling or we're under the defending quite a lot. When the ball goes forward, he doesn't take it for a run, he doesn't take it into the corner, he doesn't hold it up for others to come into play. He just basically loses it.
Yeah, and Ricky, do you agree with that? Does kind of peaks and troughs worry, especially with, as Ross highlighted, the lack of real kind of competition to step in when he is in one of those troughs?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to the guy, to give him a wee bit of slack, he is isolated quite a lot of the time. But, you know, Scott is absolutely right. He just throws himself about, whines and moaning. He doesn't hold the ball up very well. He never wins aerial battles. His timings, I mean, he could, you know, goals that he's should be scoring as a striker, he's missing. Yes, he's scoring a couple of goals, but the chances he's creating, the chances he's getting, he's not taking, you know, 70% he's missing, you know. So, yes, he may have 15 goals, he may have 20, but he should have had 30 goals, he should have had 35 goals. I remember only 1-0 up, and we've got him missing sitter after sitter after sitter, not linking the play, not doing what he's meant to do. We're not finishing games, so we're just ended up finishing games petrified because we never finished it in the first half. Because our striker, albeit he might be the only one we've got, that for me is the most key critical position we've got to sort out in January. Nothing else. We need to get a striker in. If there's only one money for one player, it's got to be a striker. Because without scoring goals, we're not finishing teams off. And we're allowing teams to cap into your Motherwells, your Hibs. I mean, Hibs had 18 chances against us at Ibrox. That's just unheard of. And I'm not saying that's Dessers' fault, but if we can finish these teams off in the first half with the chances we're creating, it's all over, isn't it?
Yeah.
How many times I was sitting there thinking, Christ, they're going to nick one, they're going to nick one, they're going to nick one. And you look at our stats, we've had chance after chance after chance, and invariably, it's Dessers is missing it. So he's not good enough. And we're going to sit here and say, well, he's all right at this, he's good at that, he's a nice bloke. Sorry, not good enough. We're Rangers, and we need a better option up top.
I mean, in my opinion, you're quite a nice bloke, Ricky, but I wouldn't necessarily want you playing number 9, you know?
Well, I mean, listen, we've got a lad there, Zach Lovelace, all right? Now, he's an English under-17 international. He's no mug. He can't get in that team. He can't get, you know, before his injury, he was playing down the right, and the boy looked a real talent. Now, that was a year ago. He's signed another contract for a year to the end of this year, and he's just going to walk because Clermont won't give him a shout. English under-17 international. Isn't he good enough to play for Rangers?
Wow. I certainly hope he gets some opportunity between now and the end of the season. As you said, it would be almost churlish just to let him go with his kind of pedigree that he's got. Ross, just on that then, so you kind of broached this in the first round about the strikers. We've got Dessers. We've kind of covered him in detail. You've got Danilo, who I don't actually think we will see the best of this year. And then you've got Igamane, who's very kind of raw, not quite ready, I would suggest. So just looking at these two, I think you mentioned Igamane, so we'll go with him first. When I've watched him, I think one of my concerns is he's more of a focal point than an out-and-out striker. Very, very good hold-up play, quite quite willing to drop back, get himself involved, quite willing to head out to the wings to give options. There's been a couple of times now I've been sat watching just screaming, will you just get in the bloody box? Because that's where you want your striker. Does that concern you at all? Do you think he can develop into that striker, or do you think that's going to entirely change the way that we play if we start using him more often?
He can learn, of course he can. I think a lot of the things that Ricky was talking about, that we were talking about Morelos, and Morelos is going to be the standard bearer for Rangers centre forwards over the last 5-10 years, is that he would drop deep to collect the ball. And how many times were we talking about Morelos not being in the box to finish chances? But that didn't seem to bother a lot of people. Do you know what I mean? So at the same time, Ricky's talking about how Dessers is isolated, and we don't have the runners off him. So that's a formation issue. How can you? I don't understand how we can play a 10 and not have runners off him.
Aye.
Dessers is still 20-30 yards away from everybody. So that's an issue with the formation. I think at least Hans Egeman can drop deep and collect the ball and turn and try and make things happen. If he needs to push out wide to collect the ball, I don't have an issue with that. But what you need to do then is caveat that by allowing the formation to switch and push. If he pushes out left to win the ball, Bayrami can move inside and play as a 10. Lawrence can essentially play as two centre forwards to be guys in the box. If that's what you want to do, I don't think that's the way it should be. But if that's the way it's going, that's the way it goes. There's nothing. I don't think anything's wrong with wanting him with somebody that wants to drop deep to be involved. We talk about Dessers. All he does is stand up top, monitor the referee, and throw himself at the floor. He's not involved enough in the game. At least Egeman looks like he's got the attributes that he wants to drop deep, take the ball, turn, be involved. Is he going to be perfect? No. We've signed a guy from Morocco. What are we expecting from him? Do you know what I mean? He's coming in, new culture, new language. He's going to need time to adapt, but he's got attributes that we can enhance. And if we do it the right way, we could benefit from that. But it's going to take time, and it's going to have to take, I think, a formation change to do that. Unless we're going to use a 10 as a 10 and support the striker. That's what it's there for. It's there to be the link between the midfield and the striker. And at the moment, it's not. It's still 15, 20, 25 yards too far away from that. So we're not going to see the best at Egeman, regardless of who plays there.
No, I think that's fair. And Scott, just on the last option then. So Danilo, as I said, I don't think we're going to see him at his best this year. I think, the amount of time he's been out, that's quite natural. He's missed an awful lot. I guess my question is, do you think he's a viable contender for Dessers? Because I'm seeing a lot of people pinning kind of major hopes on him. And I'm not saying he's a bad player, but for me, I haven't seen it in a Rangers jersey yet from him.
We've seen wee bits when he came in and he scored a few. You thought there was maybe something there, but we want to see him back this season. I don't know, because he's come back to get injured. He's supposed to be back in training at the moment, isn't he?
Aye.
So is he going to come back in? Probably not straight away. Not European squad either. I think it's hard injuries he's been out with to come back. I never seen nothing to say he's going to come in and score the goals, but it costs a lot of money for us. It's not a lot of money in football terms, but it's a lot of money for us on two strikers, both him and Dessers, and they've only got one kind of performing at times. So I don't know if he's good enough. I think, and that's again, we'll have to wait till he comes back and see what he's like. But I'm going to put money on him coming back and performing really well. I just think, like any signing that comes in, we made a boob and he'll probably leave for next to nothing. I don't see enough of him to say he's going to be a superstar.
Nah, I think that's pretty much where I'm at, to be honest, mate. I hope he comes good, but it's a wait and see job, isn't it? I guess lastly then, guys, Ricky, I'm pretty sure you answered this already. Two parts again. One, do you think we need to go for a striker in this window? But the second part being, do you think we'll actually go for a striker in this window? So Ricky, come to you first.
Who knows, because we can't keep on bringing in strikers at that kind of value when you've got that amount of people up there on the wages that they're currently earning. So we're in this situation where we probably need to offload before we can bring in the talented player. I mean, the lad who he was over at Neil Lennon's team in Romania, I forget his name now. He was an option I think we probably should have went and got. There was Miovski, that was the lad at Aberdeen, but you know the guy I'm on about?
Ramdani.
Romani. And I think that would have been the kind of player that we would have loved at Ibrox, because he had that busyness, he was bombed about, he was a good finisher. I don't think we have that with Dessers. Danilo, did we ever see Danilo offering that we thought, Christ, we've got a striker here? I don't think we've ever seen that yet. So the jury's still out in Danilo, even if he is going to be fit, and he's on a good wage. So it's a problem position, and it's a problem for the club, because it'll come down to finances, and we can't bring somebody in unless I believe either Dessers or Danilo are shipped out. So we'll lumber with it, to be honest with you, I think.
Aye, and Ross, same to yourself, mate.
I mean, I'd like to, but we're at a stage where we're talking about cost cutting, and it seems to be every day there's somebody leaving the club at this stage. So who's to say that the next guy that leaves will be the director of football, the guy that signs players? So we might not even sign a player. Who knows? I'm jesting, of course. I don't even.
Are you?
I don't know. But, well, let's not speak too soon. I've not got any insider, but you never know. Would you be surprised?
No.
At this stage, no. But we've got 3 centre forwards already to play one position, and 2 of them are on big money. We're not signing another one. As much as I think we do, and I agree 100% with Dickie, we need a guy that can score goals consistently. We really do. But I don't think we'll sign that. I think if we're going to sign somebody, it's got to be a midfielder. I think that's more likely a signing as opposed to a number 9, because I think we're still short in the midfield. Yeah. But in terms of signing a number 9, I think it's not financially viable unless we sell one. But that doesn't seem to be on the cards.
Well, I'm not going to hold my breath. We'll see. Sell either of these two. Scott, finish up with yourself. And again, same question, mate. Do you think we should, and do you expect that we will?
Listen, we don't even got director of football. I know I said that, but now it's Coppin, who was just basically a scout, so it's not director of football for me. I don't think we will, unless it's somebody known, and it's going to be a younger player, or we sell somebody. We could sell Dessers in January, because there's clubs wanting them. We didn't want to leave, so maybe get another offer for Dessers. We also sell Ridvan, so you never know, but I think it'll be more than a midfielder. But we need a few players in, and I don't think, I said right at the start, I don't think January's the time to do it. And I did say a few months back, though, just before the last window closed, which I went for a bit for Millwall, because he was struggling there, and we wanted somebody just to score goals in this league. I know we've got Dessers if it kind of does that, but we need somebody else. And you can see what he's done since he's come back to Scotland on loan. I'm not saying he was the perfect answer, but because of finances, he was an option for us. Never made that move, so I don't see us going for a big striker or big money. I feel like he'll be a loan deal, or we'll stick with what we've got.
I tend to agree with that, mate. Okay, so that's us over the hour. I think we can wrap it up there. I think we've had quite a good trip through the spine of the team. I would summarise it. So the kind of rough consensus is obviously centre back looks okay. Number 10, we don't really want it, but if it's going to be there, again, we've got the kind of competition there. I think midfield was obviously a concern, and suggestion from all of us that potentially we needed to look at least another in there, if not a formation change. And then obviously striker, I think probably fair to say, guys, there's a rough agreement that what we've got isn't great and it probably isn't good enough, but it's probably what we're going to be stuck with for the season. So with that, thanks very much for joining me, folks. Ricky, thanks for coming on tonight, mate.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I really enjoyed that. I couldn't believe that's an hour and 5 minutes, so that's flew by. Thoroughly enjoyed that conversation, guys, and I'll see you next week.
I'll be getting shot by Scott when he sees the time for this one. Ross, thanks for coming on, mate.
Pleasure. Good bit of therapy.
Aye, it is that. And Scott, thanks again for coming on, mate. And if you just want to check out another shameless plug there.
Okay, thanks, Dave. It's just, if you want to come on to watch our pod, it's called Not Another Rangers Podcast. And thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure to come on the journal, and just like to say apologies for the dog snoring. It does it every night, so it's not like he's just doing it out of spite.
Now, like I said, mate, next time you need to actually get him on the pod. That's where it's at.
He doesn't move, Dave. He just lies in his bed. He doesn't.
My kind of dog, to be fair. Right. Well, thanks very much for tuning in tonight, folks. If you did like what you heard, please do like the video. And also, if you like our content, give the channel a like and subscribe. Turn the notifications on and you get advance warning when we're coming on air. With that in mind, just remember every night is a Rangers Journal night. Thanks, folks.